Welcome back, you guys. I'm Nini FC, this is Blue Lions TV, and welcome to the player ratings video after our 1-0 win against Ajax. Of course, you guys, you know what? I watched the game this morning, and I've seen it from a different perspective. Really made me appreciate the performance even more. And this is why I've got a smile on my face. But yeah, of course, it's the player ratings video. I'm going to go through every single player, even the subs and the manager as well, giving them a score from 1 to 10. Now, before I get into things, if you do like today's video, do not forget to drop a like. Help me get more than 1,500 likes for today's video. And on that point, you guys, we get straight into things, starting with Kepa in goal. And one thing that I am noticing is that maybe Kepa's communication skills have to get a bit better. I think maybe over time, this is naturally going to improve because if you see it from his perspective, he's playing with a completely different centre-back partnership. So, of course, at times there are going to be some misunderstandings. Another typical thing with Kepa is that he might lose the ball at least once or twice a game with poor passing out from the back. Regardless though, I thought that Kepa was good, getting down very quickly. I thought that he covered both his posts very well on top of that as well. And for that reason, Kepa is going to score a 6.5 out of 10. Now, we get things started with Tomori in defence, and Tomori struggled in the first maybe 25 minutes, and there were tactical reasons for that. That was because the Ajax players were told to press Tomori onto his left foot. We know that Tomori uses his right foot all the time, and in that sense, none of our defenders really suit playing down the left. All our defenders are right-footed, so of course at times, we are going to struggle whenever good teams decide to press our players in a similar manner like this. Regardless though, with Tomori, he's constantly learning as games go on, and the way that he finishes games is the most impressive thing. Tomori did not lose his confidence, he visibly grew more confident as the game was going on, and one thing that I really like about how he defends and why he's so good at one-on-one defending is how he uses his body. Now, the best tacklers of the ball always use their body to help win the ball because it's the safest way to win a ball cleanly without giving away any fouls. And we do see this from Tomori time and time again. And let's not forget that moment when he sends Ziyech back to Morocco, that nice little Cruyff turn. The guy's a technically very good defender, a very good one-on-one defender, and I like that he's constantly thinking about where he has to position himself. For someone that's only 21 years old, it has been a remarkable rise from the player. For that reason, Tomori is going to score a 7 out of 10. Now, alongside Tomori was Kurt Zouma, and I have to say, King Kurt Zouma was an absolute colossal at the back. I've been saying time and time again, we need to forgive Zouma for that game against Man United. Since then, he has been very good. He has been very consistent. I love that we now possess a defender that's an absolute monster in the air. I like that Zouma regularly covers his defender, and I think that's the difference in which Lampard is using Kurt Zouma. Zouma plays more of a cover role, meaning that Tomori is the one that's allowed to leave the defensive line, and he's able to go out to close down markers. And it really highlights Zouma's really good reading of the game, which he doesn't get too much credit for. He made countless good blocks, he worked alongside the defense as well. Him and Tomori do look very consistent together, and I love that we possess 4 great defenders at this club. For that reason, Kurt Zouma is going to score an 8 out of 10. Now, we move on to Marcos Alonso, and the most impressive thing about Alonso today was his defensive awareness. I love that when he was coming up against Dest, Dest has that speed advantage and that skill advantage as well, but Marcos Alonso is old. He's experienced. Time and time again, he used his strength and his experience to stop Dest from getting down his line. Because Dest couldn't really isolate Alonso, it meant that Ziyech was forced out wide, and Marcos Alonso dealt with him as well. Defensively, his game was very good against Ajax, but offensively, it wasn't the same. And I'm sorry, with our fullbacks, they do have a lot of attacking responsibilities that are crucial in regards to build-up play as well, so they still need to be judged for those things. Offensively, I still see Alonso struggling to combine with Hudson-Odoi at times. I don't like that he can't do any simple 1-2s with Hudson-Odoi. I mean, it's really frustrating in that sense. And at times when Ajax had the advantage down the flanks, he was one of the reasons why they did, because at times he isn't as press resistant, he lacks composure when he's getting closed down very quickly as well, and he regularly just hits the ball and hopes it goes to someone. As I said, I need to look at both parts of our fullbacks game, And for that reason, Marcos Alonso is going to score a 6.5 out of 10. Now, we move on to Azpilicueta, and I have to say, it really was a defensive masterclass from Azpilicueta. I mean, wow, I cannot get that tackle he made against Proms out of my head. I mean, incredible, perfectly timed, world-class last-ditch tackle. And throughout the entire game, he got tight to his markers, he covered in behind, and we particularly saw these merits in the second half, where Aspi was more aggressive with his closing down, pushing higher up the pitch to win the ball in Ajax's half. But unfortunately, as I said with Marcos Alonso, our fullbacks still play a very important part in the offensive role, and Aspi attacking just isn't the same as he is defending. That is the reality. It's a shame in that sense. At times in the final third, there was this one particular moment where Aspi decided to go for a shot instead of a simple cross, and it really just highlights his deficiencies in the final third. As I said, I'm not going to dismiss all aspects of his game, but because his defensive performance was so incredibly good, Azpilicueta is going to score a 7 out of 10. Now, before I continue on with things, quick plug out of the way, make sure you guys download the OneFootball app. You will find a link to the app in the description below. As I'm saying right now, if you want to see all the post-match news, discussion and talks and stats from the game, the OneFootball app is an easy, accessible app to use to get the information you want very quickly. It takes a tiny bit of time to get used to the interface, but once you do, it's a breeze. If you want to download the OneFootball app, you'll find it in the link in the description below. Now we continue on and we move on to our midfield, starting with Jorginho. And with Jorginho, I thought that, I don't know, I'm going to sound a tiny bit harsh, but I wish he was a world-class passer of the ball. He's a top-class one, but he isn't a world-class one, because at times, he needs to be playing some passes with better quality. And of course as well, with Jorginho and his instincts, he's a player that loves to press on the front foot, but because of those instincts, it means that his defensive awareness isn't always on point. Against Ajax, a team that loves to play between the lines and really do their best work between the lines, it's really criminal to allow runners in behind, and that's something that Jorginho did quite a bit in yesterday's game. He got better in the second half when we started to use him more to play out from the back, but overall, I'm going to give him a score of 6 out of 10. Now, playing alongside Jorginho was none other than Cover, and honestly, it was such an impressive, incredible performance by Cover in yesterday's game. Now, last season I spoke about how we need to make his signing a permanent because a player of his qualities is so useful for a big team like us. His ability to never give away possession of the ball, it's amazing. His press resistance is elite. There's no denying that. And throughout that game, especially in the second half, when he really just controlled things, he used his ability to break the lines, his close control and his skill to great effect time and time again. But on top of that, he put in such an incredible defensive shift, covering so much ground, sticking with his job, not letting runners in behind him either, and he moves the ball very quickly. It was Cover's best game this season. For that reason, he is going to score an 8 out of 10. Now, we move on to the attack, starting with Willian down that right hand side. Now, with Willian, he did naturally struggle at times because we really focused our passing and our moves down the left hand side. Naturally, that was because Des picked up the yellow card, and of course, we wanted to apply a lot of pressure down that side to stop him advancing up the field. This did mean that Willian was left isolated at times, and due to a lack of support, it meant that he was giving the ball away a bit. Regardless though, he did put in a very good defensive shift, and his overall score is going to be a 6 out of 10. Now, we move on to Mason Mount, and the first thing I want to say is this guy at 20 years old has such an incredible football brain. He is incredibly intelligent. The positions he finds himself in, his understanding and reading of the game as well. He regularly found pockets of space to play and operate in to become that passing option for his teammates. Yesterday, Van der Beek played the same role, but Mason Mount was better. He was very unlucky with his effort, playing very well to create the opportunity in the first place. He ran in behind constantly. I thought his build-up play down the left-hand side was good as well, and he led the press impressively with Tammy Abraham up front. The guy really is a serious football player. For that reason, I'm going to give him a score of 7 out of 10. Now, we move on to Callum Hudson-Odoi, and as I explained in yesterday's match review, the pitch did not help things at all. And constantly, Hudson-Odoi wasn't really up to speed with his ball control in the game. He was constantly misjudging the bounce of the ball. And of course, I'm making it sound easier than it is. I mean, if we look at the Ajax players, they did nothing at all from an defensive point of view because the field was very poor. Regardless though, Callum did find positions between the lines. His passing in those areas was good as well. However, another reason why he is going to get a reduced score is his poor finishing in the final thirds. Now, this is something that I'm not too angry with Hudson-Odoi, but of course, to give him a fair score, I need to consider this part of the game. It seems like whenever he's through on goal, that's when you see that lack of experience. But as I'm saying, the fact that an 18-year-old is regularly getting in dangerous positions and creating opportunities for himself is the most impressive thing that we as fans should focus on. But to be honest, of course, I can't take that away from yesterday's performance. For that reason, I'm going to give Callum a 6 out of 10. And to end things with the first team, we move on to Tammy Abraham up front. And as I keep saying, it feels like I'm watching a young Drogba in the making. The way that he leads the line, the way that he puts in a defensive shift as well, he regularly falls back into our half, and that was something Drogba would do every single time. Another Drogba similarity is how Tammy Abraham fights for the team and celebrates with the team whenever he isn't playing. His mentality is one thing that I really stressed upon before the season started, and it's that mentality that's making him a big success with the team. Still though, we can't forget that he's young and he's still going to learn and get more experience. I thought that physically he had the advantage over Blind and Veltman, but with Veltman and Blind being much older, much more experienced players, they really used their experience to their advantage. Tammy was regularly fouling these guys, and of course, these guys made a massive meal out of things, but that's what they were always going to do. So it meant that at times, Tammy was slowing down the attacks. Still though, he ran the channels well, he worked very hard, and he would have felt a bit disappointed because I personally felt like if he had got that opportunity, I think that he could have got a goal. Still, the final thing I need to mention about his performance is how he defends the near post. I personally feel like this is the weakest part of his game. He doesn't mark his post good enough at this moment in time. He lost his marker in Alvarez, who got the run in front of him, and we were very lucky that he hit the post because we're constantly conceding from situations like this. It was another promising display from Tammy. For that reason, he is going to get a 6 out of 10. Now that the first team's out of the way, we focus on the subs and the manager. And to do that, we need to start with Christian Pulisic. What an outstanding cameo by Christian Pulisic. The way that he was just effortlessly running with the ball in such difficult scenarios was really impressive, and his first touch control is something I've constantly spoken about a lot, and he was definitely needed in the second half because we were creating a lot of space between the lines against Ajax, and he felt like we needed someone who was going to really control the ball and beat his man with pace and skill to help us take advantage of that space. And boy, did Christian Pulisic do that. That run he went on where he made that 1-2 pass with Michy and took the shot from outside the box. I was really hoping that that ball was going to go in the back of the net because honestly, the play, the skill, the moment, honestly, it was outstanding. He came on, he drove at the Ajax defense. Of course, he got the match-winning assist. Really impressive by Pulisic. It was great to see that the Dortmund boys linked up again to get us a goal. And of course, the argument is going to be, should Pulisic be starting against Burnley? Honestly, you guys, regardless if he starts or if he comes off from the bench, as long as he plays well, that's all that matters. For me though, you guys, regardless of whether he starts or comes off the bench, Pulisic looks like he's ready now. He looks like he's coming on with that intensity and that desire that Lampard wants. And hopefully very, very soon, we're finally going to see an attack of Hudson-Odoi, Mason Mount and Christian Pulisic all combining and playing together. I'm going to be giving Christian a score of 8 out of 10. And to end things with the players, we move on to Michy Batshuayi, and I'm going to say it straight. Michy is a serious, real deal striker. And I'm saying this because we all know that he missed an unbelievable opportunity to make it 1-0 earlier on. But with Michy, that doesn't faze him. He doesn't care whatever type of goal he misses because he knows that he can score the next one, and he makes sure that he gets in those areas. He makes sure that he's, running between the lines and, stretching defenses and getting in those very good areas. And when you have a player with this type of mentality, it gives you a massive advantage whenever you need to make a substitution because the team intensity does not drop. He took his goal very well, and before I give his score, I need to make one small critique, and that was a moment near the end of the game where he should have played the pass to the player down the right hand side. Instead, he attempted a shot from 25 yards out, and sometimes this lack of awareness can really hold back Mitchie, because to be a top striker for a big team, it's all about doing the right things at the right times. Regardless, he's an incredible squad player to have, and for that reason, Mitchie is going to get a 7 out of 10. Now, to finally end this video, we end with Frank Lampard. And I feel like a lot of people felt that we'd park the bus against Ajax and try to soak up a lot of pressure. I never thought we'd do this, because that's not what Frank Lampard is about. Tactically, Lampard was prepared for Ajax. I could tell he was. From how confident he was in the press conference, I knew that he felt confident about the team's chances against Ajax. He made so many smart decisions. The way he made sure the team were compact in the central areas, and we noticed this the most in the second half, where we really stopped Ajax from doing anything between the lines. But the thing that I love about Super Frank is how he changes the game in our favour every single time. He knows when to make the right subs, he understands the feel for the game, and it's always why we constantly keep the same intensity whenever he's making substitutions. I'm really happy that people are really noticing the great work that Lampard's been doing. He deserves all the credit. I'll be honest, you guys, he's been the manager I've been dreaming of for years now, to really take control of the club and really bring us forward into the future. Honestly, what a man, what a manager. Frank Lampard is going to get a score of 9 out of 10. And on that note, you guys, I'm about to wrap things up and keep things moving. Thank you for watching. Please like, comment and subscribe. I'm NiniFC. This is Blue Lions TV. See you guys later.